"Would you like to come out today?" "Oh, yes, please," said Edward. So they lit his fire, made lots of steam, and Edward puffed away.
Hello and welcome back to Headcannon Facts. Man, I can't believe I've almost made 10 of these. Time sure does fly. Fact 1. All of the hats have had to deal with the harbors of the island becoming too congested. Topham's the first solution was to expand Vickerstown Harbor. Charles's was to renovate the decrepit area around South Nafford and expand the port of Augsburg. Stevens was to expand Kirk Ronan Harbor along with the branch line to it. Richard has yet to deal with the harbor issue, but given his forebears, he probably will. You are next, Normanby. Fact 2. During the 1920s, the UK Ministry of Supply contracted a batch of SECR N-classes, which were well-performing engines, to be built as kits, which could be purchased by railways from the government. The railways would then either build them or use them as parts for new designs. The Fat Director would find 3 of these kits in his possession, and they were stored in the back of Province Gate Works in case the need of new engines ever arose again. Unfortunately, 2 of the kits were destroyed in the fire of 1927, and the third one was subsequently put at the back of the works, where it collected dust for many years and was soon forgotten about. Fast forward to 1976, a second loco crisis was occurring on the Fat Controllers Railway. As no engines could be found, Province Gate would resolve to build their own, but this would be a time-consuming process. Luckily, Victor would discover the N-Class kit sitting in storage, and it was quickly constructed. Agatha, as she would come to be known, soon proved her worth, considerably easing the strain caused by the shortage. She did so well, in fact, that Barbara Hatt, the chief engineer for those of you that remember, created a submarine design based off the N-Class. But that's another story. Fact 3. This winch, the snow machine, and whatever this thing is were all built for Gordon by Province Gate to help with snow clearing and engine recovery. Since Gordon was, for a time, the strongest engine on the island, don't tell him I said that, he was the best candidate to assist in scenarios such as heavy snow and derailments that cranes couldn't get to. Fact 4. The Ffarquhar branch originally went all the way up to Elfstead in the later days of the TK&E. This was to connect with Bertram's gold mine, the town, and Elfstead Castle, which was used as a tourist attraction. You may ask, how are the coffee pots able to run all the way up to Elfstead? My answer to that is, who said the coffee pots ran this part of the line? But that's another story. The Elfstead section would close once the gold mine did in the 30s, as passenger numbers had begun to decrease when the castle started falling apart due to lack of maintenance. Eventually, though, in the 1950s, Toby and Sir Topham would rediscover this part of the line, and along with the Earl's help, the area was restored to its former glory. Coal was also found south of Elfstead, with the mining operation being set up to harvest it. The mines would, however, collapse due to a cave-in 10 years later, causing that part of the line to be abandoned. Fact 5. Bulgy used to work in London as a tour bus. Perhaps that's where he got his attitude. I mean, I know I would be pretty annoyed if I had to deal with tourists all day. As for how he got to Sodor, nobody's quite sure. It might have possibly been through illegal means. And now for the questions. MSC Pictures at 64 asks, may I ask you this? What would be your ideal take of the austerity engine? My ideal austerity engine is Avery, brought to help with the goods on the Little Western in 1999. They were the second to last austerity built, complete in 1964. They worked in a colliery for their entire life until being preserved in 1976. They stayed in storage for 32 years, and despite constant visits from their preservationists, they were rather lonely. Their owner could see this, so when Sir Topham went looking for an austerity to help on Duck's branch, he was more than happy to donate them. Despite being nearly 50 years old, they've got a lot to learn, as colliery life is all they've ever known. Avery's shy, but very kind. Everyone has a soft spot for them. As you can see, they've been fitted with several modifications over the years, including a diesel ejector, Westinghouse pump, electric headlamp, dynamo, toolboxes, a J94 style bunker, and whatever this thing is. I don't know, it's just on the reference image and I thought it looked cool. They often talk to Pete or Sam when they take ballast down to Grover's Gate, as they both have special funnels. One last thing to note about them is that they're technically the reason Percy got dumber in a TV series. Hid employees who went out to research the island mistook them for Percy, as they are also a green saddle tank. They don't really know much about big railway practices, hence why Percy asks so many questions in the Hid era about things he should already know. The Loco Guy 45 asks, are any CGI characters canon, aside from Scruff, Bell, and Ryan? My philosophy is that all characters mentioned in the Thomas franchise are canon, to a certain extent, not you, Stefano. Just not all of them are on Sodor. If you want a more specific answer, some other ones are on the island, as of now, are Paxton, Sydney, Whiff, Charlie, and Rebecca. Connor and Caitlin also visit often. I'll talk more about them another time. Canadian Tank 43 asks, what is the ugliest livery any engine has ever worn? I mean, what exactly constitutes as an ugly livery is subjective, but James once awoke to himself in this paint scheme and Saddle Tank Productions asks, who works on the Brendan branch? As of right now, it's run by Edward, of course, Bogo, Whiff, and an engine called Foduck. There's also a few industrials on the branch, those being Bill and Ben, a dock shunting engine called Audrey, and the diesel that works for the Sodor Salt Company, called Rita. Okay, so this dude's been asking for a while for me to talk more about Molly, so I'm gonna give her mostly complete backstory. Molly was built in 1904 for the Great Eastern Railway to haul express services. Back then, she was called Morgan, and was up for flamboyant and bombastic. But she's always been very kind. Her life went on pleasantly till the 1920s, when she realized she was transgender. Because she knew how others would react if she told them, she tried to keep it a secret, but unfortunately it got out. She was relentlessly harassed and bullied to the point of being thrown down an embankment by another engine. After this, she requested to be transferred, and thankfully she was. Somehow the secret didn't follow her, but she was still depressed she couldn't be her true self. This is what caused her to be more shy and quiet. Finally, in 1952, she caught a break, and was preserved by a woman who let her be her, and she changed her name to Molly. She pulled rail tours across the country for several years, but once her boiler ticket ran out, her benefactor couldn't afford her overhaul. Happily, she was sold to Sir Topham Hatt in 1972, and the Fat Controller's Railway, being the cool place that it is, openly allowed her to be who she was, even after the engines learned she was trans. Now that she's in this environment, she's much less shy, and is slowly becoming more confident. Currently, she's a mixed traffic engine on the main line, doing whatever needs done. More recently, though, she's been taking express services once again. Well, that's all for me for today. See you next time, everybody. This is EdwardsDayOut, signing off.